Every life changes by a decision. But most people wait for the big one, the big break, the big win, the overnight moment that never comes. They wait while time walks past them. What they don't see is that change doesn't start with something massive. It starts with 1 hour. Just 1 hour. You take 1 hour and give it your full focus, your full strength, your full belief. And if you do that, if you truly do that, your life won't be the same after a year. It won't even be the same after a week. That's how powerful you are. That's how real this is. Most people waste that hour. They give it away. They scroll it. They talk it. They avoid it. And then they say life is hard. Life's not just hard. It's indifferent. It doesn't care what you do with your time. But the results? They always reflect the effort. 1 hour used with intention is more powerful than 10 hours filled with noise and distraction. The problem is most people don't believe in that hour. They don't treat it like it's sacred. They don't see the value in it. And that's why they never get the momentum they need. Success doesn't come to you. You go to it every single day. And the way you go is with your time. Time is the ticket. If you give your best hour every day to something meaningful, something focused, something that stretches you, it's only a matter of time before things begin to change. It's math. It's law. 1 hour a day is over 300 hours a year. That's over 7 full 40-hour weeks of pure creation, learning, building, growing. Imagine what that could do to your finances, your health, your mind, your character. That's the difference between someone who says someday and someone who makes today the turning point. Discipline begins when you keep promises to yourself. You set that 1 hour and you show up. No distractions, no excuses. You tell yourself, this is mine. This is for me. No one can take it. And when you do that day after day, you start to become someone new. Not because life got easier, but because you got clearer. You stopped reacting. You started deciding. You no longer chased everything. You focused on the one thing that matters. That's how it begins. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need every step mapped out. What you need is commitment. 1 hour a day. To build, to study, to learn, to grow. That hour becomes your training ground. And if you stay in the arena long enough, you get stronger. You begin to trust yourself. That's the part people miss. It's not about doing it for others. It's about looking in the mirror and knowing you followed through. You honored the hour. That's how confidence is born. Not from results, but from effort. Repeated. People want change without cost. They want growth without pressure. But nothing real comes easy. Everything that matters comes with struggle. And that's not a problem. That's the proof. If it's hard, it's probably worth doing. The hour you give to yourself every day, it will test you. You'll want to skip it. You'll want to push it. But every time you show up, you win. Even if it's not perfect. Even if you're tired. Even if no one sees it, you win. Because you kept the promise. You built your character. And character is what builds everything else. You don't get stronger by talking. You get stronger by doing. And if all you did was give 1 hour a day to the things that scare you, challenge you, stretch you, you would not recognize yourself in 6 months. The person you are right now is not the final version. There is more in you, but you've got to dig. And digging takes time. It takes energy. And most importantly, it takes priority. That 1 hour is not about time management. It's about identity. Who are you becoming? That's what's at stake. Most people spend their time managing problems. You want to use your time creating solutions, learning skills, building habits. That's what the 1 hour is for. Not for worrying, not for scrolling, not for hiding, for building. You can rebuild your life in a year with just 1 focused hour a day. The body, the mind, the finances, the relationships, everything can change if you give it your full effort, but it's got to be daily. You can't trade consistency for intensity. You can't cram growth. You've got to build it brick by brick. And that brick is 1 hour every single day. You want to write a new chapter in your life? You start by showing up, not for others, for yourself. You show up tired. You show up uncertain. You show up even when no one's clapping. Because the world doesn't reward the beginning. It rewards the ones who keep going. The ones who put in the hours when no one is watching. the ones who keep building in silence. That's where greatness grows. Not in comfort, not in applause, not in luck, in the one quiet hour where you give it everything you have. It doesn't matter what you start with. It matters what you give it. You don't need talent. You need time. You need to take 1 hour and own it like your future depends on it, because it does. That hour is the difference between regret and pride, between average and fulfilled, between drifting and building. And you get to decide what it becomes. You don't need permission. You don't need anyone to understand your vision. You just need to make that first hour matter. Maybe it's in the morning. Maybe it's at night. Maybe it's in your car, in a library, in your room with the door closed. Wherever it is, you go there, and you make it sacred. You make it yours. No distractions, no excuses, just progress. One day, then another. And before you know it, you've become the kind of person who finishes what they start, the kind of person who sets a goal and becomes it. Nothing great is built by accident. It's all built by time, energy, and purpose. You've got the time. You've got the energy. You just need the purpose. And that purpose is found in the hour. It's in the repetition, the reading, the writing, the workouts, the planning, the building, the facing of the things you've been avoiding. That's how you transform. You want to change your life? Don't wait for the world to hand you anything. Take 1 hour a day and make it count. That's where it all begins. And I'm telling you, if you do this right, it will not just improve your results. It will change your identity. You will not be the same person you are right now. You will be stronger, more focused, more disciplined, more fulfilled. That's what 1 hour can do. But you've got to stop treating it like it's optional. It's not. It's the foundation. And every day you show up, you lay another brick. Every hour you give, you gain more than you lose. You gain pride. You gain power. You gain purpose. And that changes everything. You don't rise by chance. You rise by choice. And the choice is made daily, quietly, when no one's watching, when there's no crowd, when the only voice you hear is your own telling you to keep going. That's when transformation happens. In that hour when everything else is tempting you to quit, to delay, to make excuses, you feel it. The pull to stay where you are, to take the easy route. But something inside you knows better. Something stronger, something real. And if you honor that voice, just for 1 hour, everything starts to shift. People ask, what's the secret? The secret is not buried in some book you haven't read or a seminar you haven't attended. The secret is in what you do with your hour. Not someday, today, right now. Do you treat your time like it's disposable, or do you treat it like it's the most valuable resource you've got? Because the truth is, it is. You can lose money. You can lose opportunities. You can lose relationships. But if you waste your time, you lose everything. You lose your life in pieces. Slowly, one wasted hour at a time. And the world is not going to stop and wait for you. It's going to keep moving. Life doesn't slow down for those who hesitate, but it does reward those who commit, who grind, who choose discipline over comfort, clarity over confusion, purpose over pleasure. And it doesn't have to be for 12 hours a day. It doesn't have to be a radical shift. It just has to be consistent. One solid, focused hour a day. That's it. That's the beginning of every success story you've ever admired. Now, don't confuse simplicity with ease. 1 hour sounds small, but when done with purpose, it carries weight. It stretches your willpower. It confronts your laziness. It asks you who you really are. And it forces you to build something real. Because in that hour, the distractions don't go away. The doubts don't disappear. You just get better at choosing what matters. You become the kind of person who acts in alignment with their goals, not their moods. That's maturity. That's discipline. That's power. 1 hour of reading every day won't make you a genius overnight. But in a year, you'll have read more than most people read in a decade. 1 hour of writing a day won't give you a best-selling book this week. But in a few months, you'll have a draft, a voice, a body of work. 1 hour of focused training won't transform your body in a week. But in time, you'll become stronger, leaner, sharper. And not just physically, but mentally. Because it's not just about the results. It's about who you become through the process. That's the real reward. And that's the part people miss. They think it's just about getting things done. But it's not. It's about transformation. It's about becoming. You carve yourself into something greater, not with big grand gestures, but with 1 hour of real effort, every single day. That's how you build belief. That's how you earn respect. Not just from others, but from yourself. Because deep down, we all know when we're wasting our potential. We all feel it, that gnawing sense that we're meant for more. The hour is your answer. The hour is your weapon. The hour is your chance. You don't have to be extraordinary. You just have to be consistent. Extraordinary comes from consistency. That's how you develop mastery. That's how you gain leverage. You do something long enough, and eventually it starts working for you instead of against you. The habit begins to push you forward. The momentum starts to build, and what felt like effort becomes your new normal. That's how change happens. Quietly, slowly, steadily, 1 hour at a time. You can complain or you can commit. You can wish or you can work. But you can't do both. You've got to decide. The hour will expose you. It will show you whether your dreams are serious or just fantasy, whether your goals are rooted in action or just words. And that's good. You want that truth, because once you know where you stand, you can start to build. No more pretending. No more avoiding. Just honest work, done daily. That's what builds legacy. That's what builds freedom. Not a perfect start, not perfect conditions, but showing up when it counts. And it always counts. That 1 hour you invest in your personal growth, in your craft, in your clarity. That's what separates those who grow from those who stagnate. That's what separates the fulfilled from the frustrated. It's not fate, it's focus. And focus is a choice. Most people never slow down long enough to ask themselves what they truly want. They move through life on autopilot. Wake up, work, eat, scroll, sleep, repeat. But you're not here to repeat the same year for the next decade. You're here to create, to shape, to build a life you don't need to escape from. And you don't need 100 hours a week to do it. You need 1 solid hour a day, fully owned, fully used, fully respected. That hour should be non-negotiable. It's your anchor, your reset, your laboratory. That's where you experiment. That's where you reflect. That's where you build. And yes, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you comfort, distractions, social approval. But look around. Comfort hasn't brought you fulfillment. Distractions haven't made you stronger. And social approval hasn't paid your bills or built your dream. So what are you really losing? When you realize that, you stop looking for reasons to delay. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop saying when I feel like it. Because if you only work when you feel like it, you'll be stuck forever. You'll stay broke. You'll stay lost. You'll stay average. And I know you're not here to stay average. I know you've got more inside you. I know something in you is ready to rise. But rising takes rhythm. And that rhythm starts with 1 hour. That's your foundation. Every day you show up, you build. Every day you skip it, you weaken your foundation. And it's hard to build anything meaningful on weak ground. So protect that hour, guard it, respect it. Because what you do in that time is sacred. It's your future taking shape. It's your strength being forged. And over time you'll see, you won't just change your habits, you'll change your identity. That's what you're really doing. You're becoming the person who keeps showing up, the person who finishes, the person who learns, adapts, pushes, evolves. You're becoming the one who doesn't wait for perfect, who doesn't need hype or applause. You become reliable. And once you're reliable, once your word means something to yourself, your whole life begins to open up. Opportunities find you. People respect you. And most importantly, you respect yourself. It's not about the speed. It's about the direction. 1 hour a day in the right direction beats 100 scattered hours. Because it's not about being busy. It's about being intentional, focused, deliberate. You know what you want. You know what matters. And you make time for it. No matter what. That's where the power is. That's how you go from surviving to thriving. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Every time you resist the urge to skip, to waste, to drift, you win. Every time you show up and put in that 1 hour, you grow, you evolve, you build momentum that no one can take from you. And it compounds. That's the beauty of it. Every hour compounds. Every repetition adds up. And one day you wake up, and you're no longer who you used to be. You've risen. You've become. And it all started with one choice: to own your hour, every single day. There will be days when the last thing you want to do is show up. You'll be tired. You'll be distracted. Life will throw problems your way, and that's when it matters the most. That's when you find out what you're really made of. Because discipline isn't built on the days when it's easy. It's forged in the moments when everything inside you says quit. And you don't. You keep going. Not because you feel like it, because you said you would. And in that, you become powerful. Not loud, not flashy. Powerful in silence, in persistence, in self-respect. When you keep your promise to yourself, even when no one's watching, you develop a level of self-trust that nothing can shake. That trust is what gives you confidence. Not fake confidence. Not borrowed belief from someone else's opinion. But real, grounded belief that says, I do what I say. I show up. I improve. I don't need permission to grow. And that belief becomes your backbone. That belief will carry you through the storms, through the failures, through the delays. Because you'll know deep down that you're not just hoping for a better life. You're building one. 1 hour a day makes you the kind of person who refuses to let life happen to them. You stop reacting and start creating. You take control of your schedule, your energy, your attention. You stop blaming the outside world and start working from the inside out. That's where real change starts. That's how you build a foundation that doesn't crumble every time life gets hard. You become steady, solid, reliable. And I promise you, if you commit to one focused hour a day, you will separate yourself. Not by force, not by luck, by consistency. Because most people won't do it. They'll talk about goals. They'll dream out loud. But they won't carve out that hour. They won't fight through the distractions. They won't protect their time like their life depends on it. But you will. And that decision will move you from the crowd to the uncommon. It will put you in the category of people who don't just want change. They make it. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about being honest with yourself. About where your time goes. We all get the same 24 hours. But not all hours are used the same. Most people waste hours in reaction. Reacting to emails, to texts, to the news, to other people's drama. But if you reclaim one of those hours, just one, and you own it with full focus, that's where your life starts to shift. Because clarity lives in that hour. Direction is born there. You start seeing things differently, thinking differently. And when you think differently, you act differently. You begin to notice what truly matters and what doesn't. You begin to detach from the noise, from the chaos, from the meaningless distractions. And that clarity becomes your fuel. You don't waste energy chasing what doesn't serve you. You don't get pulled into every argument, every trend, every worthless opinion. You rise above quietly, steadily, 1 hour at a time. And over time, people will wonder how you did it, how you became so calm, so focused, so effective. They'll think it happened overnight. But you'll know the truth. You'll know about the nights when you chose work over comfort, the mornings when you beat the snooze button, the weekends when you built instead of binged. They won't see the hour you invested each day. But that's okay. They don't have to. You didn't do it for them. You did it for the person you're becoming. The truth is, we don't rise by chance. We rise by design. And design takes intention. It takes effort. It takes time. But the greatest return on that time is who you become. You become someone who doesn't wait for motivation. Someone who doesn't chase every shortcut. Someone who doesn't panic when things get tough. You become someone who can be trusted with responsibility, with leadership, with purpose. And that trust starts with the way you use your time when no one's keeping score. Every hour you invest in growth becomes a seed. You may not see the results today, but one day, the roots you planted will hold strong when everything around you shakes. You won't be the one who falls apart. You'll be the one who stands up, steps forward, and leads because you've been preparing. Quietly, consistently. That 1 hour you kept sacred. That's where you built your edge. People think they need a life overhaul to feel progress. But what they really need is rhythm. A single hour of full presence, of deliberate effort, of intentional learning, done every day, can unlock more than you ever imagined. You don't need a massive breakthrough. You need a daily commitment. 1 hour where your focus is sharp, your values are clear, your distractions are gone, and your actions align with who you say you want to be. And the power in this is that it's yours. No one has to give it to you. You don't need a title. You don't need permission. You don't need anyone to validate you. You claim your hour, and you begin. That's how every meaningful life is built. Not in explosions of effort, not in moments of applause, but in daily, intentional discipline, quietly, privately, powerfully. You won't feel like doing it every day. That's part of the process. But if you stay consistent, you won't need to feel like it. You'll do it because it's what you do now. It becomes part of you. And that's how you shift your identity, not by changing everything all at once, but by doing one thing well, repeatedly. You begin to trust your own effort. You begin to believe in your own word. That belief becomes your fuel. That fuel becomes your power. And power is not about domination. It's about direction. It's about having control over your impulses, your distractions, your decisions. 1 hour of focused effort gives you back that control. It reminds you that you're not a prisoner of circumstance. You're a creator of outcomes. And creators don't wait. They act. They build. They persist. The hour is small, but inside it lives your future. Inside that hour is your unread potential, your unrealized capacity, your unfinished greatness. And when you treat that hour with the respect it deserves, everything changes. Because you begin to prove to yourself that you're serious, that your dreams are not just talk, that you're willing to work for them, that you're willing to give up temporary comfort for long-term growth. Most people will never make that trade. But if you do, if you really commit to that 1 hour each day, you'll start to notice something. You're not just changing your habits, you're changing your standard. You're no longer okay with average. You're no longer okay with excuses. You hold yourself to a higher level, not because someone told you to, but because now you know what you're capable of. And once you taste that kind of progress, the kind that's earned, not handed to you, you won't want to go back. You won't want to waste another minute, because you'll know that every hour counts. Every effort matters. Every choice is building something. And you'll start to see time for what it really is. Your most valuable asset. Something that once spent never returns. And that kind of awareness is a gift. Because when you understand the value of an hour, you start to understand the value of your life. And when you begin to value your life, you stop giving your time to things that don't make you stronger. You stop saying yes to every distraction. You stop tolerating environments that drain your energy because you know what it costs. One wasted hour is one less brick in the foundation you're trying to build. One careless evening, one empty morning, they don't seem like much, but over time they add up. They become the weight that slows you down. And if you're serious about changing your life, you don't carry unnecessary weight. You travel light. You move with purpose. That's the gift of structure. It frees you. Most people think discipline is a cage, but the truth is, discipline is the key that unlocks your freedom. When you give yourself just one non-negotiable hour of growth every day, you're not limiting yourself. You're building something real. You're creating a structure strong enough to hold the weight of your dreams. And dreams do get heavy. They require effort. They require endurance. And if your habits are soft, the dream collapses. But if your hours are strong, you can carry anything. That's why it's not about motivation. It's about ownership. You don't need someone to hype you up. You need to look in the mirror and decide, I'm not waiting. I'm not wishing. I'm not hoping for someone to rescue me. You don't get better by accident. You get better by design. And the most powerful design you can make is one where every day, no matter what, you give yourself 1 full hour to grow. That hour, it doesn't even have to be complicated. It can be used to read, to train your body, to learn a new skill, to reflect, to build something, to create a plan. But it has to be focused. It has to be protected. Because in a world that profits from your distraction, your ability to focus is an act of rebellion. Your ability to say, "This hour belongs to me," is a declaration of independence. That's how you start to take your power back. Not through noise, through focus. Think about it. 1 hour of intentional growth a day, multiplied by a year, is 365 hours. That's more than 9 full-time work weeks. While the world is scrolling, wasting, reacting, you're gaining clarity, gaining skill, gaining momentum. That's not just self-improvement. That's life transformation. Quiet, unseen, but real. And over time, the gap widens. The difference between who you were and who you're becoming starts to grow. You speak with more confidence. You move with more intention. You waste less. You want less from the outside because you've built more on the inside. That's the shift that happens when you stop waiting and start working. People will try to convince you it's not enough, that an hour won't change anything. But look around. Look at how many people have spent years doing nothing with their time, and they're stuck, lost, full of regret. It's not because they didn't want more. It's because they never committed to less. Less distraction, less laziness, less mindless living. But you made a decision to do more with less. 1 hour. That's all it takes to break the pattern. And once the pattern is broken, a new life begins. You don't rise because you had a perfect plan. You rise because you created a simple standard and refused to break it. 1 hour, every day. No matter what. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop feeding weakness. And instead you fed your future. That's power. That's purpose. That's how you shift from survival to mastery. Because at the end of the day, success isn't reserved for the talented. It's reserved for the consistent. It's not about being extraordinary. It's about doing the ordinary things with extraordinary focus. You don't need to reinvent yourself overnight. You just need to honor that hour. Guard it like it's your life. Because it is. That hour is where you build your courage. That hour is where you find your voice. That hour is where you finally start living instead of existing. And when you live with that kind of focus, you don't just change your results, you change your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to improve and start seeing yourself as someone who improves every single day. That identity shift is everything. It changes how you talk to yourself. It changes how you show up in relationships. It changes how you deal with setbacks. You no longer fall apart because you've built something inside yourself that doesn't break under pressure. And people will notice. They won't always say it, but they'll feel it. Your presence will speak before your words. Your discipline will be visible in the way you carry yourself. You won't need to explain your progress. It will be obvious, not flashy, not loud, but obvious in the way that real growth always is. Quiet, rooted, unshakable. You didn't get there by luck. You got there by choice. You made your hours count. You made your actions matter. And in doing so, you prove that you don't need more time. You need more focus. You need more consistency. You need more urgency. You need to stop wasting your life, waiting for a sign, and become the sign. That's what happens when you show up for 1 hour a day, every single day. You become the proof that it's possible. And here's the thing. When you grow in one area, it spills over into others. 1 hour of clarity makes your entire day clearer. 1 hour of discipline makes every choice that follows more aligned. You start to eat better, speak better, move better, work better, because you started the day by keeping your promise to yourself. You started with integrity. And when you start with integrity, everything else follows. That's the hidden power of the hour. It teaches you how to lead yourself. And once you learn that, you don't depend on external motivation. You don't wait to be rescued. You don't crumble when things go wrong. You stand up, you take ownership. Because now you know that change is not a mystery. It's a muscle. And that muscle is built through daily effort, daily decisions, daily discipline. So what will you do with your next hour? Will you spend it reacting, consuming, escaping, or will you claim it, protect it, use it to move the needle? That's the decision that will define your future. Not the big wins, not the big losses, but what you do with the little windows of time that most people overlook. That's where the game is won. And I'm telling you, if you claim that hour and own it with everything you've got, there's nothing you can't create. Nothing you can't learn. Nothing you can't overcome. Because greatness doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things. Daily without excuse. So make it count. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Now 1 hour. Every day. That's the key. And when you finally make that shift, from watching time pass to making time matter, you begin to see how much potential you've been sitting on. It hits you, not as regret, but as a kind of fire. You start to see that your problem was never a lack of time. It was how you chose to spend it. And that realization, that's when everything begins to change. Because once you see your power clearly, you can no longer pretend you're powerless. You stop blaming your past. You stop pointing fingers. You stop looking for shortcuts. You just do the work, quietly, consistently. Because it's not about proving anything to others anymore. It's about living in alignment with who you know you can be. That's the real win. When your daily actions finally match your deepest values, when you stop chasing and start becoming, and that hour becomes more than a habit. It becomes sacred. It becomes your space to return to yourself, to disconnect from the noise, to remember your reason. While the world spins in chaos, you anchor yourself in clarity. You sit with your goals. You remind yourself of your principles, and you act from them. Not from pressure, not from fear, but from purpose. That's what 1 hour a day can do. It can remind you of who you are and who you're becoming. Because this life, it's not a dress rehearsal. You don't get a second round. Every day you delay your growth. Someone else is using their time to build, to rise, to move. And if you want to catch up, you can't wait for ideal conditions. You've got to build in the storm. You've got to choose discipline in the middle of distraction. You've got to say yes to growth when everything around you tempts you to stay the same. And it's hard, I know. It's uncomfortable to sit with yourself. It's painful to look at the gap between where you are and where you could be. But that pain, that's your invitation. That's your signal. That's life telling you there's more. You don't feel discomfort because you're broken. You feel it because something inside you is waking up. Something that knows you're meant to build, meant to stretch, meant to evolve, and the way forward. It begins with what you do in the next hour. Not tomorrow, not next Monday. Now, there is no perfect timing, just timing you choose to make perfect through your actions. You don't need a full plan. You don't need more motivation. You just need to begin, open the book, write the paragraph, go for the run, reflect in silence. Study the thing you've been putting off. That's the real difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck. The former act, even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient, because they know that inconvenience is temporary. But regret lingers. And when you start choosing effort over comfort, even for 1 hour a day, you start building trust in yourself. You stop needing others to believe in you, because you believe in you. You know you'll show up. You know you'll do what needs to be done. That's a different kind of power. Not loud, not flashy, just steady, and steady wins. You begin to notice that your problems don't shrink, but you grow larger than them. Your patience increases. Your resilience builds. Your clarity sharpens. And it becomes easier to say no to things that used to pull you off course. Because now you have direction. You're not drifting anymore. You're aiming. And when you aim daily, your life begins to take shape, not from luck, but from intention. And this isn't about perfection. You'll miss some days. You'll stumble. You'll fall short. That's normal. That's part of it. But the people who change their lives aren't the ones who never mess up. They're the ones who get back to their hour again and again, no matter how far off track they went. They know how to forgive themselves without letting themselves off the hook. They don't quit because they missed a day. They recommit because they've made a decision. I will not abandon myself again. And the beauty is, you don't need applause for this. You don't need validation. You don't need anyone to notice, because the rewards are internal. You'll feel it. The pride that comes from honoring your time. The confidence that comes from showing up. The peace that comes from knowing you're doing the work, even when no one's watching. That's real success. Not what the world sees, but how you feel when you're alone with your choices. And soon, what was once effort becomes your new normal. The hard things become your standard, and your old habits, your old excuses, They don't fit you anymore. You outgrow them because you've built something stronger in their place. And that 1 hour a day, it was the start of it all. Think about where you were 1 year ago. Think about what you knew, how you felt, what you believed was possible. Now imagine what could happen in the next year if every day, without fail, you showed up for 1 hour. Imagine the compound effect of 365 days of growth, momentum, intention. Who would you become? What would you unlock? What kind of life would you step into? It's not a fantasy. It's math. It's commitment. It's available to anyone willing to trade comfort for purpose. That's all this takes. Not genius, not luck. Just one powerful decision, honored daily. You don't need to move mountains. You just need to move yourself, 1 hour at a time. And when others ask how you changed, you won't need to give a speech. You'll just say, I started taking 1 hour a day seriously, and I never looked back. And you won't look back because once you know what it feels like to be in control of your direction, you'll never go back to drifting. Once you understand how much progress is possible in small daily doses, you won't crave distractions the same way. You'll be hungry for growth, hungry for discipline, hungry for that feeling you get when you end the day knowing you didn't waste it. That's not ego. That's fulfillment. That's alignment. That's living in a way that respects your potential. Because this hour, it's more than time on a clock. It's where identity is built. You're no longer just hoping to be someone better. You're becoming it through action, through focus, through a daily promise kept. And as that identity gets stronger, your excuses start to lose their grip. You stop saying, I'll do it later, because you know later is a lie. You stop chasing motivation because you've learned to rely on commitment. That's how it works. Action first. Emotion follows. There are people who will hear this and still choose to wait. They'll keep watching others rise, keep scrolling, keep wishing, and years will pass. But you've already started because something in you is awake now. Something in you understands that this hour is your chance to take your power back. You're not stuck. You're just one decision away from progress. You're not too far behind. You're just 1 hour away from momentum. And you're not lost. You just haven't made your growth non-negotiable yet. And when you do, the world changes. Not because the world itself shifts, but because your perspective sharpens. You stop getting caught in every problem. You start solving them. You stop waiting for opportunities. You begin preparing for them. You stop reacting to life. You start directing it. That's what happens when you show up every single day. You learn how to lead yourself. And once you can do that, there's no limit to what you can build. Because leadership isn't just something for boardrooms and companies. It's something personal. You either lead your time, your habits, your focus, or they lead you. You either design your life with purpose, or you live someone else's plan. You either put in the work when it's hard, or you pay the price later when it's even harder. There is no avoiding the cost, only choosing which cost is worth it. And discipline, even when it stings, is always cheaper than regret. So when that alarm rings, when that moment comes and it's time to get to work, don't think, don't argue with yourself. Just act. The mind loves to delay. It loves to negotiate. It loves to create doubts. But action silences all of that. Action clears the fog. Action proves that you're not just dreaming. You're building 1 hour. That's it. You can keep the other 23. Just own this one. Give this one your full attention. Your best focus. Your strongest energy. Put your phone away. Shut the door. Eliminate the noise. And pour yourself into your craft, your health, your learning, your future. You will be amazed by what comes out of you when you finally stop getting in your own way. Because talent isn't what builds a life. Habits do. Strategy does. Repetition does. And none of those things are given. They're chosen. You don't need to be born with drive. You need to develop it. You need to train it. And you train it by showing up when it's cold, when it's quiet, when it's inconvenient. That's when it counts most. When no one's clapping. When no one sees you. When the results haven't shown up yet. That's when real transformation begins. In the shadows, not the spotlight. You want confidence? Earn it. Every single day. Earn it. Not through words, but through action. You want discipline? Don't wait to feel it. Create it. Build it. Prove to yourself, with consistency, that you can keep your word. That's where confidence lives. In doing what you said you'd do, that's where strength lives. In not quitting just because it's hard, that's where pride lives. In knowing you paid the price, quietly, boldly, without excuses, and maybe no one will notice at first. Maybe your life won't look different right away, but give it time. 1 hour a day builds into something extraordinary. You'll start to think clearer. You'll carry yourself differently. You'll speak with more certainty. You'll feel more grounded. Because deep down you'll know, I've earned this. And nobody can take that from you. Not opinions, not failure, not rejection. Because what you've built inside yourself can't be stolen. That's the gift of consistency. It gives you a foundation that doesn't shake. It gives you a mindset that doesn't crack under pressure. It gives you a standard that doesn't break when life gets hard. You become unshakable, not because life is easy, but because you've become stronger than your circumstances. And strength isn't found in how much you can lift. It's found in how often you show up, in how much you can endure, in how deeply you can focus when the world keeps trying to pull you away from yourself. Every hour you give to yourself, it's not time lost, it's time invested. Every book read, every workout done, every goal moved forward, it compounds. You may not see it today. You may not feel it tomorrow, but one day the results will come, quietly at first, a shift in how you think, a better decision made, a calm where there used to be panic, then bigger things, new opportunities, new relationships, a future you didn't think you deserved, now becoming your reality. And when that happens, you'll trace it back, not to a moment of luck, not to some grand event, but to that one decision. I will give myself 1 hour a day. I will show up. I will do the work. And once you've lived that kind of discipline, once you've tasted that kind of growth, you don't go back. You don't settle for less. You don't make excuses, because now you know what's possible. Now you know what you're capable of. And nothing, not fear, not doubt, not failure, can take that away from you. Now that you know what it feels like to take full responsibility for your time, now that you've started building something real from within, you'll never look at the day the same way again. You'll wake up with intention, not to impress anyone, not to prove a point to the world, but to prove something to yourself, that you are not going to let your potential go to waste, that your future is more important than comfort, that you're here to build, not just exist. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to have the perfect plan. You just need to be relentless about showing up. 1 hour a day, every single day. That's how you create separation. That's how you gain ground. Quietly, steadily, without fanfare. When others are choosing easy, you're choosing growth. When others are distracted, you're locked in. When others delay, you execute. And it shows. It shows in how you talk, how you walk, how you think, how you lead. Because when you own your hour, you own your mindset. And when you own your mindset, you stop being pushed around by circumstances. You stop being reactive. You stop blaming. You start responding with strength. You start living with direction. It becomes clear your life is not something that happens to you. It's something you shape. Every thought, every choice, every focused hour. It's all a brick in the foundation of who you're becoming. And when you build that foundation right, nothing can shake it. Not failure, not critics, not setbacks, because you've done the work, you've lived the sacrifice. And that gives you an edge. Most people don't have clarity. You're no longer lost in confusion. You're no longer spinning in circles. You know what you want. You know why it matters. And you know how to get there. By mastering your day, 1 hour at a time. People will wonder how you're changing so fast. They'll say it looks like you found some secret. But there's no secret. It's not magic. It's just consistency. It's just discipline. It's just quiet work, done when no one's watching. That's the real formula. And anyone can do it. But few are willing. The truth is, it's not hard to change your life. What's hard is committing to the small things, long enough for them to add up. What's hard is believing that something so simple, 1 hour a day, could actually move the needle. But it does. It always does. Because it compounds. You may not notice the impact after the first day or the first week, but if you keep going, something clicks. You start thinking differently. You start feeling differently. And then one day you look back and you don't even recognize the old version of you. The one who waited, who doubted, who avoided the work. You're not that person anymore. You've earned your confidence. You've proven that you can change. And now that you've built this new standard, the rest of your life starts to rise to meet it. You eat better. You sleep better. You choose better. You choose better relationships. You say no to things that drain you. You stop chasing validation. You start becoming your own source of pride. And when you look at the clock and see that hour coming, it doesn't feel like a chore anymore. It feels like a gift, a sacred time where the rest of the world fades away, and it's just you and your future face to face. And that feeling, that inner stillness, that certainty, it becomes addicting because it's rare, because it's real, because it's yours. People waste so much time searching for shortcuts. But the truth is, there's no shortcut more powerful than 1 hour a day of focused work, done with intention, done without compromise. That's the edge. That's the weapon. That's the answer. Because while others are dreaming, you're doing. While others are making excuses, you're making progress. While others are overwhelmed, you're structured. While others are starting and stopping, you just keep going. And that's the difference. Not talent, not luck, just consistency, just self-respect, just an hour a day that you refuse to give away. When the results come, they won't come with fireworks. They'll come in the mirror. They'll come in your posture. They'll come in your peace of mind, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you no longer need to explain who you are, because it's obvious. You've done the work. You've kept the promise. You've paid the price. And now you're reaping the reward. And let me tell you something powerful. That hour you give yourself, it changes everything. Not just for you. It changes how you show up for the people around you. You become someone others can count on. Someone with clarity. Someone with purpose. You become an example. Not because you preach, but because you live it. Your discipline inspires others. Your focus challenges them. Your consistency raises their standards. That's the quiet power of someone who owns their time. They don't just elevate themselves. They elevate everyone around them. So if you ever feel like it's not working, if you ever wonder if it's worth it, remind yourself, this is the path of the few. Most people won't do it. Most people will let time slip by. Most people will complain about their results, but won't change their habits. But you're not most people. You've decided to rise, to take full control, to stop waiting for permission, to stop waiting for the right moment, because the right moment is now. The opportunity is now. The transformation starts now. You've already begun. You're already building, and you're not going back. Not to distraction, not to laziness, not to settling. That part of you is done. That chapter is closed. Now you rise. You rise because you've seen what even a single hour of focused effort can do. You've tasted that discipline. You've felt that momentum. And now you're not chasing motivation. You're fueled by it. You've created your own engine. You don't need to be pushed anymore because you've started pulling your life forward with force. You rise because you no longer give your best energy to things that drain you. You don't spend your mornings scrolling. You don't waste your evenings numbing out. You've become intentional with your time. And that intention shows up in your results. It shows up in your thinking. It shows up in your face, in your tone, in the way you walk into a room. You rise because you've realized something most people never do. That time is not something you fill. It's something you master. That hour a day is not about quantity. It's about quality. It's about showing yourself every single day that your dreams matter enough to be prioritized, that your goals are not optional, that your future is not for sale. And the more you protect that hour, the more power you build. Quiet power, real power, the kind of power that doesn't need to be loud or aggressive, just consistent, just present, just undeniable. You rise because you've trained yourself to keep going, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient. You've learned how to act without needing to feel like it. That's rare. That's what separates the few who create real freedom from the many who stay stuck. You rise because the old version of you, the one who waited, who hesitated, who talked more than they acted, that version is gone. Not overnight, not all at once, but day by day, hour by hour, you've replaced them with discipline, with direction, with grit. And now you don't see effort as suffering. You see it as proof. You're not hoping anymore. You're earning. You're not wishing anymore. You're working. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're too busy becoming someone you respect. And that kind of inner pride, that kind of quiet certainty, that comes from doing what needs to be done, even when no one claps, even when no one sees, even when no one understands. You rise because you finally decided that good enough isn't good enough for you, that average won't satisfy you, that excuses won't guide you, that the clock won't run your life. You will. You rise because you're no longer driven by pressure. You're driven by purpose. And every hour you commit reinforces that purpose. It makes your vision sharper, your habits stronger, your actions cleaner, your focus tighter. 1 hour a day. That's all it takes. That's all it ever took. Not 10 hours, not a perfect strategy, not endless talent. Just 1 hour, fully owned, completely protected, repeated without compromise. That's the compound effect. That's how you separate yourself. Not in a week, not in a month, but in a year, 2 years, 5 years. People start noticing. They wonder how you got so far ahead. They don't understand how you became so sharp. They think it must have been something you found, some hack, some breakthrough. But you know the truth. You didn't find it. You made it. You made it by deciding to stop wasting time. You made it by choosing progress over perfection. You made it by showing up every day when it would have been easier not to. And here's what's crazy. Once you truly start living this way, you can't go back. You can't go back to drifting. You can't go back to being reactive. You can't go back to mediocrity because you've seen too much. You've seen what's possible when you actually use your time like it matters. And now there's no pretending you don't know. There's no pretending you don't care. You've crossed the line. You've stepped into a new identity, the kind of person who follows through, the kind of person who sets a standard and keeps it. Not when it's easy, not when it's convenient, always. And the best part, you're just getting started. That hour you've carved out, it's the seed, and the roots are growing. Deep, strong, invisible to the world at first, but undeniable once they rise. You're building habits that will serve you for a lifetime. You're developing focus that will make every area of your life better. You're building a work ethic that can't be taken away. And most of all, you're building belief, not blind belief, earned belief. The kind that says, if I can do this, I can do anything. So keep going, keep carving that hour, keep protecting it, because that 1 hour is more than a routine. It's a revolution, a quiet rebellion against distraction, against wasted time, against your own lower nature. And the more you honor that hour, the more your life begins to shift. You think better, you speak better, you move with more purpose. You don't flinch in the face of challenges. You don't panic when things get tough. Because you've trained for this. You've put in the reps. You've built the mental calluses. That's what people don't see. They see the results, but they don't see the lonely mornings. They don't see the quiet nights. They don't see the doubts you had to silence, the urges you had to resist, the days you had to fight just to keep showing up. But that's okay. Let them wonder. Let them talk. You don't need recognition. You don't need applause. You just need your hour. That's where your power is. That's where your freedom lives. You give yourself that hour, and the world has to adjust to the new you, not the other way around. You keep moving because you understand something few ever grasp. The battle for your future is won in the present moment. It's in the choice to stand firm when distractions scream louder than your dreams. It's in the decision to focus when the noise around you begs for your attention. 1 hour a day isn't just a block of time. It's a declaration that you will no longer be the victim of circumstance or the prisoner of procrastination. It is a promise you make to yourself to take control. This hour is the place where your mindset is forged. It's the moment you push past excuses and build the mental strength to hold steady in a world built for distraction. Your mind doesn't change overnight, but it changes every day you decide to show up. It learns what matters by where you place your attention. When you invest that hour in learning, planning, or creating, you tell your brain what to focus on next. Slowly but surely, you rewrite your mental script. Belief doesn't come from thin air. It is built 1 hour at a time. When you succeed even a little during that hour, whether it's writing a paragraph, practicing a skill, or finishing a task, you earn trust in yourself. That trust turns into confidence. And confidence becomes the foundation you stand on when the going gets tough. Without belief, you wander aimlessly. With belief, you move with purpose. Clarity is another gift that hour delivers. When you dedicate consistent time to your goals, the fog lifts. What once seemed overwhelming or impossible begins to look achievable. You begin to see your path more clearly. It's as if each day's effort lights the next step forward. The confusion fades, replaced by direction. You start to understand what truly matters, what doesn't, and where your energy should go. Vision is born from this clarity. It is not a vague dream, but a focused picture of what you want your life to be. That hour every day allows you to hold this vision steady. It reminds you why you wake up before the world stirs. It keeps you tethered to your purpose when distractions threaten to pull you under. Purpose is the fire inside that hour. Without purpose, time becomes empty and meaningless. But with purpose, every minute counts. It's the difference between drifting through the day and driving your life forward. Purpose makes the work feel worth it. It gives you a reason to fight for your dreams when nobody else believes in them. Discipline is the muscle you build by honoring that hour. It's the quiet, relentless force that keeps you consistent. Discipline doesn't require motivation. It requires commitment. It doesn't wait for the right mood or the perfect moment. It acts anyway. When you discipline yourself to use your hour wisely, you train your brain to resist shortcuts, to push past fatigue, and to keep going even when it's hard. Action is where the magic happens. Ideas, plans, and dreams mean nothing without action. That hour is where you transform thought into reality. You don't have to do everything in one day, but you have to do something. Every minute you invest compounds, pushing you closer to your goals. The power is in the doing, not the planning. That hour is your proving ground. Gratitude keeps your heart steady through this process. When you appreciate the small wins during that hour, you build resilience against discouragement. Gratitude reminds you of progress, not perfection. It rewires your mind to see opportunity instead of obstacles. Being thankful for the chance to improve is a secret weapon in your journey. Adaptability is what keeps your hour effective. Life throws curveballs. Plans change. Obstacles arise. The ability to adjust your approach while protecting that hour is critical. Flexibility doesn't mean giving up. It means finding new ways to honor your commitment. It means learning and evolving, not breaking down under pressure. Resilience is the armor you wear every time you face setbacks. You will face them. You will feel doubt. You will want to quit. But resilience is what pulls you back. It's what makes you use that hour to rebuild, rethink, and refocus instead of giving up. Resilience is the force that keeps your progress moving forward, even when the path is rocky. Learning is the fuel for this entire process. Every hour you spend growing your mind or skills multiplies your value. It opens doors that were once closed. It builds competence that breeds confidence. Learning isn't a phase, it's a lifestyle. That hour is your daily investment in becoming a better version of yourself. You don't need a perfect plan to start. You don't need endless motivation or extraordinary talent. You just need 1 hour. 1 hour every day. That hour is your secret weapon. The small effort that leads to giant results. It's easy to look around and think you don't have time, but everyone has the same 24 hours. The difference is in how they use them. That hour might mean waking up early, saying no to distractions, or cutting something that doesn't serve your growth. It's about choosing what matters over what's easy. That hour a day will change your life. Not because it's some magic formula, but because it builds the foundation for everything else. It builds your character. It builds your skills. It builds your future. And when you look back months or years from now, you won't regret the time you spent pushing forward. You'll regret the time you wasted, waiting for the right moment that never came. Keep your hour sacred, protect it from distractions, doubts, and excuses. Let it be your daily commitment to your dreams, your growth, and your future. This is your life, your time, your hour. Make it count.